Welcome back, everybody, to Jedi Eternal for episode 25. I am your co-host today, Braxton Taylor, here with your other co-host, Andrew the Punisher Bolin. First thing I come into, I'm trying to prepare for the podcast, and all of a sudden, Dad, can I have my iPad back? And it's like, what's your room look like over there? No, he didn't act like that, but I thought that was pretty funny. I'm like, hey, he's the Punisher over here. He's taking iPads away and everything, so...
You got to do what you got to do, you know.
Well, you know, that's right. Discipline. Right?
Yeah.
Andrew, how you doing today?
You know, I'm doing quite well. How are you doing?
Good. I'm glad to be back, baby.
Yeah,
I'm back.
I have to say you were greatly missed last week, and I'm sure everyone else thought so as well when they had to hear me rant by myself.
For 37 minutes, that was impressive.
37 minutes I talked.
That was impressive.
And to those that know me, including you, you know, I don't really talk that much, and so... to be able to do it continuously for 37 minutes.
Yeah, I was impressed.
Was pretty big for me. So
yeah, well, big hand of applause to you.
Oh, thank you.
That was great. I got bored about 20 minutes into it, but it was really. I'm just kidding. JK.
No, I don't blame you. It's not
LOL.
the same. It's not the same.
No,
and I think everyone can agree.
No, it would be the same thing for me too.
I mean, the communication between the two of us is what I think makes this work.
Yeah,
and makes
100%.
it what it is. And so when it's just one of us, it's not the same. But you know, we had just decided there was too much news and rumors out there, and we had already canceled multiple times.
Yeah,
we didn't want it to go to waste, and so we just wanted to provide something. I'm sorry if you hear my dog.
Like, who gave this dog a squeaky toy when we're recording a podcast?
Sage is currently squeaking her toy. I'm just gonna take this from her real quick.
Yeah. Whatever. So anyway, no, it's good to be back. Like I said, the problem with our lives is that we have way too many responsibilities. And so because of that, we have a lot of obligations to do outside this. So sometimes, unfortunately, one of us can't make it, or whatever. So unfortunately, there's probably gonna be times like that in the future as well. But
and I mean, we've been pretty vocal about the fact that we do have other things that we do, and so unfortunately, this is not full-time job for either one of us, and so it is what it is. Sometimes we're gonna have to cancel because of other events and such, and we're both heavily involved in our churches and different things. So but I hope there's not very many times where we have to do it by ourselves like that, because it's just not near as enjoyable.
Yeah, and I want to throw this out here. Andrew did this by himself last week, and one thing we've kind of thought about, and we'd like to get your guys' input, guys and gals, get your input on this, is instead of just doing like a podcast recording, because that's the thing, like we didn't even name this like an actual episode. Like, this is the subsequent episode from last time we spoke. So my point is, like, if you guys want to, would you be interested in, like, he and I, we'd be in different locations, but try and do like just like a short like Facebook Live video where we join together? That's something we thought about doing. So let us know if you'd be more interested in that rather than just one of us speaking on the podcast.
Right. So. And we actually had great success with our first and final one we've done, live video on Facebook. Yeah. We had a lot of people turn out for it, lots of responses. And so we definitely want to do more of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And then depending on how much you guys want that, we can, of course, make that happen sooner. So.
Agreed. So anyway, if you guys want to, please comment on this on the post for this episode when you get it on Saturday, and let us know about that. Without any further ado, we're going to get back into our regularly scheduled program here. We're going to get into our news. We have 2 news stories, and then we have like 16 rumors. So not really, but it's pretty close. No, we have like 6, I think. Anyway, but we're going to get into this. The very first news story for the week is kind of something that we already sort of kind of knew, was dancing around, but it's been talked about so much that we kind of just want to flesh this out completely right here, right now. And that is the High Republic writing project will be directly connected to the sequel trilogy in actually various multiple different ways. So Drew actually talked about something last week that he can refresh our memories on here in just a moment if he wants. But one of the main things this week that's kind of come out and a lot of people have been talking about is the connection of the Santeca family. And unbeknownst to me, this is actually something that kind of came out when they very first announced it. I guess it just kind of slipped my radar. I didn't catch that, but they apparently did. But just to get a little like excerpt here from who said this? Charles Soule actually said this. He said the Santeca clan has become a dynasty at the forefront of technologies and techniques that let Chancellor Lina So's great galactic republic continue to expand safely to new areas. Overseen by Scions Marlin and Velis Santeca, the clan operates in close conjunction with the Republic and becomes a crucial to its response to the Great Disaster. But the Santecas have a secret. Their rise did not come without a cost. So, how does that connect with the sequel trilogy? If you guys remember, in Episode 7, Force Awakens, the very first person we see is that old man, and he is actually Lure Santeca.
Yeah.
And so that is his family. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all ties in. And because we know that Lord Santeca was kind of like a mystic, he helped Luke and things like that.
He was part of the Church of the Force or whatever I don't know if that's what they called it.
Yeah,
they called it something
else,
similar
yeah.
like that. But so this was mentioned previously quite a while ago, around when the High Republic was first talked about. But it seems to just be kind of people are just now kind of catching on to the fact that the Santecas were mentioned.
Yeah,
and I love stuff like this. I think this is what's going to be cool about the High Republic is to see, somebody we know from the sequel trilogy, that family, is going to be in the High Republic. It's still a line of people, a tree, and so it's going to be cool to see that stuff, and I'm sure there's going to be more than that. We know Sana Starros from the Star Wars comics. Mm-hmm. One of her great ancestors is going to be in it as well, and so it's just cool to see those connections.
Yeah, and I'm 100% in agreement with that. Because whether you love or hate the sequel trilogy, I do love the efforts that Disney / Star Wars has been making recently to connect everything. Right?
Yeah.
Everything that they publish has some kind of connection with something else. Whether the sequel trilogies connect with the High Republic, or the prequels are somehow connected to, or prequels / original trilogy is connected to the Clone Wars, or whatever it may be. Right? Whatever medium. I just love that they're trying to connect everything, and it just kind of gives this like closely knit relevancy to everything that is Star Wars. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I do think that over the past decade, that's something that Star Wars has kind of been missing out on, is all the connection. Because you have the original saga that as in movies, and you have Clone Wars, same universe, but it just feels kind of adjunct, or whatever the right word is. It doesn't feel like it's connected. But over the years, they've really been making steps to connect everything, and I really appreciate that. I think it's pretty cool. So.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's move on to our next story.
Yep.
And this is, if you guys caught the episode, or the special short, whatever you want to call it,
news update.
I talked a little bit about how they were going to be revealing Tales from the Galaxy Edge. They're going to be having a reveal trailer. Well, the reveal trailer has came out. For those of you that don't know, this is a VR game. It's from the same people who made Vader Immortal. I'm a big fan of Vader Immortal. It was very good. And so this is going to be kind of in the same gameplay style, where you're kind of... It's interactive, but it's not like super interactive.
It's a narrative, but you can kind of look around and interact with objects.
Right. You're going to have some interaction there, but it's very movie type, you know. And so this is going to be focused on Galaxy's Edge, which of course is the theme park in Disney World and Disneyland, and from what I understand, it's going to allow you to kind of be at the park. You're going to kind of see the park.
Awesome. Yeah.
And so that's going to be really cool for those that can't be there, like us.
Yeah, like us, unfortunately.
Who's not been there yet.
Right.
And so I'm really excited about it. The trailer doesn't show a whole lot.
No, yeah.
But it does show you kind of walking through like this cantina, and of course that'll be cool, and being able to just kind of interact with the people there, and Bobby Monahan from SNL is the bartender, and he's just great in anything he does, and so I'm sure that will be a great character.
Well, I watched the reveal little trailer, whatever you want to call it, the reveal video for it just a little bit ago before the podcast, just get caught up on everything, and it was just funny because like he's a hilarious guy,
right.
he was on SNL, so that's all they ever do is improvise and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So they just told him like, hey, just here's this one line, go off of this.
Yeah.
And then they talked about him like reading a book or whatever, and like, you know, just like making snide comments at like different. I mean, it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that, you know, not every interactable character may be that interactable, but it'll be cool because there's going to be so many little things like that that's going to add, you know, depth to the world.
Yeah, and I think one thing I'm very interested to see is just what the story is going to tell. What their plan is as far as the story. What because I don't know that they've revealed a whole lot with that, and maybe I've just missed it.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But I'm not real sure on the story or the timeline either.
Yeah.
And again, that I've not done tons of research on this yet, so that may be out there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's set kind of near everything else with the park, as far as like kind of in the Resistance time, right there. You know,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, but either way, I think it's going to be cool. I'm really looking forward to playing it when it comes out.
Yeah, absolutely, and it just gives me another great excuse to get a what is it, Oculus Quest. I want one very bad.
Yeah, and for those of you who are interested, again, Vader Immortal is already out, 3 episodes long.
Yeah.
If you have an Oculus Quest and you have not gotten that, then
what have you done?
What's stopping you? You better get it.
Yeah, you gotta get it.
For those of you who have not gotten a VR headset yet, well, maybe now's the time.
Yeah, though, as it gets closer to the holiday season and Christmas and all that good stuff, I'm sure that more people are going to start picking this up. So it's a good time for this to come out.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's probably when I will, buy it for myself for Christmas.
Listen, they're awesome. I mean, as I've said before, I bought mine specifically for Vader Immortal. So I am so glad there's going to be another one. Well, because had I just bought it for Vader Immortal and never had any more Star Wars content, it would have been a bummer.
Yeah, I with the VR headsets, I've always wanted, a couple reasons. I love watching movies in VR. I've only done it one time, but it was an amazing experience. I love doing the I don't know if it's on Quest, it might be, but on the Rift they have like the Google world view thing where you can go flying around and stuff like that. I always wanted to do that, but then when they started like saying they're making Star Wars stuff, I'm like, oh good grief, I have to get it now at this point. And now there's 2 things coming. I'm like, yeah.
Listen, it's so cool. I have a friend who has one, and me and him one day just jumped on there, went and went and sat in what looked like a theater and watched a SpongeBob movie.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
And you like throw popcorn at the screen and stupid stuff.
The stuff that you'd actually get kicked out in real life, you can actually
do whatever you want in there. Well, actually,
fine.
Now there's still other people in the. Well, you can watch it with other people in the theater.
That's actually kind of
cool.
And
they get kind of upset sometimes.
Will you shut up, Ashley? Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, what the one thing that really interests me about this is that this time this is a Oculus Quest exclusive.
Wow. Yeah.
And I found that interesting because I'm fairly certain Vader Immortal came out on more than just the Oculus Quest.
Yeah. I know it was on Rift for sure.
And I was thinking maybe PSVR.
Yeah.
But
I think so.
I'm not sure on that one. You might fact check that.
I'm pretty sure that's correct.
But so this one is only Oculus Quest. Now, part of me thinks, that's kind of strange. I wonder why. But at the same time, I think that we might be able to pull out more from what the Oculus Quest can do because it's specifically made for that system. And so graphically, I think we'll be able to pull out, they'll be able to make it look as good as possible on the Oculus Quest. They'll be able to utilize exactly how the Quest works to its full potential so that you get the best version of this on the Quest. So, on
a side note, Vader Immortal is coming to PSVR, and it says this summer, and this was posted in May. As far as I understand, it's still not here yet, so it could be coming very soon for those of you who have PSVR.
It's planning to come. So,
but it does not apply though to Tales of Galaxy's Edge. So, anyway, get yourself a Oculus.
So interesting stuff there.
By the way, Oculus, if you want to sponsor us.
We will happily review all products.
We'll gladly do it for you. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Just make sure to sponsor us. Anyway, so we're gonna get to our rumors now because we only had 2 news stories, but we're gonna make up for that in rumors very aptly.
Yes.
So let's go ahead with the first one. Many of you, including myself, was part of the hashtag Make Solo 2 Happen movement. And it was a lot of people wanted Solo 2 to happen, and they really enjoyed Solo 2. I mean, I wasn't as adamant as other people, but I did really enjoy Solo. But with that being said, apparently, Make Solo 2 happen has been heard, and reportedly, there is something regarding Solo, whether that be a movie or a show, coming to Disney+. But there is a second part to this rumor, and that is Ron Howard is quote-unquote not aware of any Solo sequel plans. So we're going to have those as two different rumors, but I'm like, well, I mean, it goes perfectly together.
Yeah.
So I'll just go ahead and say it right off the bat, and I have a feeling we're probably on the same page with this because it's just kind of obvious. But if there is reports that Solo is coming to Disney+, but Ron Howard is saying he's not aware of any sequel plans, it's most likely because he's not involved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's most likely that there might be something, and I have a lot of reasons, but I'll let you talk. I'm just saying most likely Ron Howard's just not involved in this.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. If this rumor is true, which I think is very possible.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it is very possible we are getting some kind of continuation of Solo. Again, I have said before, I'm not real certain on Han Solo and Chewie being back.
Yeah.
But this rumor is claiming they're all back. The whole team.
Yeah.
Everyone's back. And so that part of it, I'm not real sure.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say that's the case. They're all coming back. I think there's a lot of story to tell there with Kira and Maul, and which we'll get to Maul again.
Yeah, we have a rumor after this.
Kira and Maul and Lando. I think there's a lot you could go with there. And so, I mean, I guess if we get more Han, it's going to be dealing with a lot of his relationship with Jabba. I would assume he's going to start to kind of start getting those messes and all that stuff.
At the end of Solo, he does mention Jabba.
He does mention him, yeah.
It'll be interesting tie over.
Yeah, so I think that's where that stuff would head, and then of course you'd have the Maul's whole ordeal, and so lots of story to tell. But my thing is, if they're doing this on Disney Plus, which they don't say if this is going to be a movie or a series. They don't really talk about, or a short, couple episode series. They don't say what it is exactly. But I would say if they're doing this, Ron Howard is not going to be involved.
Right.
And first of all, he's just he's a huge director. They're not going to want to pay Ron Howard to do this.
Plus, as much as we know for a fact, because of so much we've heard from his daughter, that her dad did Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah.
No. I'll let you cut you off. But yeah, I was gonna say that was my exact point. I was gonna say as well.
Yeah, and the other thing with Ron Howard is we have to remember why Ron Howard came in the first place. Ron Howard came into Solo because Phil and Lord Miller, they got kicked off the movie, and they needed a very experienced director to come in and complete the movie. They weren't looking for, in my opinion, some kind of artistic flair. They needed somebody that knew exactly how to make a movie to come in and get it done. Right. And that's what Ron Howard did. He got the movie done, and I commend him for that. Yeah. But as far as to make a sequel, I don't think Ron Howard is the person they're looking for.
So there's two reasons for this, from me, in my opinion. You already said it. Ron Howard is a big-time director. He's done Jurassic Park. He's done a lot of these big movies. And I think that when they're moving to Disney Plus, they looked to, I'm not going to say failure, but just for this term, just for this instance, they look to the quote-unquote failure of Solo and how much bad press it got, and how many fans were like, I don't like this, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of people who liked it, like I was one of them, but, it doesn't make up for the fact that there was an overwhelming amount of people saying they didn't like it. So they're not going to spend that much money, get such a big guy like Ron Howard after that kind of, again, not failure, but failure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But
secondarily, off of Disney's desire or lack thereof, I don't think Ron Howard wants to. You know what I'm saying? Him saying, I'm not aware of any Solo sequel plans, that might be self-made knowledge there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. I don't know that he has much desire to return. And the other part of that to also consider is he could just be lying.
Well,
because
he could be lying. That's happened before.
Yeah,
Clearly,
I mean, they yeah, they have secrets. They actors and directors and stuff, they keep secrets from us all the time.
Oh yeah,
they straight up lie to us about it because they have to.
Liars.
They know things long before we do, and so this could be one of those things where he's just to try to throw people off the trail, even if he's not, because I would think Disney would maybe talk to him about it if they were going to do a sequel, even if they don't use him.
Yeah.
I think that would be the right thing to do, but that doesn't necessarily mean they would do it. I don't know.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's what they could say. And what could be the possibility is that, hey, he doesn't actually know. He's not actually aware, because they just said, hey, we're not, if we do move forward, we're not going to have you as the creative director or whatever because of X, Y, and Z. And then they might just move on and start making something else. And they've said that. And he's like, oh, I don't know anything.
Well, and I could see a situation where, like, we're going to bring in a new director, but do you want to be a producer? Something like that, where he has some kind of, his name's on it, but it's not necessarily, like, super involved. I could see something like that. But
yeah, so I'm just going to say I think it's very plausible that something Solo is coming to Disney+. I would imagine if I had to bet money on it, it'd probably be a show. And or a short series, like maybe not even a full show, but like a short series of like a 2, 3, 4 part thing. That can maybe finish up or get the story caught up to where it needs to go in terms of like Han Solo.
I mean, I think I want a show, because one of the big issues with Solo was the fact that it was only a movie. So
this is prime. This is a prime show. I mean, we've talked about this before. But this is a prime show. What's the word I'm looking for? Like material. You know what I'm saying? It's not incredibly necessary, as I've said in the past, but it's a great opportunity for a show to come in, fill the gap, give you the information that you need over a long period of time, and boom, you're done. That's it. That's good. So, talked a lot about that rumor, but I think it just needed to be talked about a little bit. But I would say that there is probably something coming down the pike on Solo to Disney+, but Ron Howard's not going to be a part of it in whatever capacity that may be. So anyway, you want to lead us on to our next one here? And this is actually relevant to Solo to some degree as well. So
this next one we have here is Lucasfilm moving forward without Ray Park as Darth Maul following Instagram post. We talked about Darth Maul potentially coming back into multiple series. That was a rumor that we talked about I talked about last week. And now it was actually the same day that I was talking about that. I then found out later about Ray Park and his Instagram posts.
There's a big, let's say there's kind of some issues that arose, and we'll let you guys figure out what those are if you want to.
Yeah, we're not going to go into detail on that.
But let's just say Disney probably wouldn't want to be associated with somebody that did something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. So this is kind of a big deal if it's true.
Yeah. Ray Park is the face of Maul. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right. And so basically they're saying they're not going to continue with him, and this I don't know what they do at this point.
Yeah, exactly. It's a complicated
especially
situation.
if they decided that they were going to use Darth Maul on a bunch of different things.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know what my solution is. But Braxton, tell me, what is your solution?
Oh gosh, you can get me in trouble. Honestly, it's difficult to say because Disney is such a progressive, kids-oriented company, and again, with the brevity of the situation and the manner of what happened within the situation, I definitely don't see them doing it. As we know, Ray Park only played the voice of the last part of Maul and Solo.
The face.
Or the face, yeah. Because there's Sam Witwer that
Sam
did
Witwer
the voice.
did the
You know
voice,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
I just got mixed up there. So that's my point. I mean, at this point, for their legality purposes or just saving face with people, I just say make Sam Witwer the you know what I'm saying, make the Sam Witwer the guy. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that I necessarily want that, but I'm just saying Sam Witwer has done a great job with the voice. I don't know that he has, you know, the technicality of movement and, you know, the facial features of Maul and things of that nature, but I mean, there's not much. I don't think there's not much that they can do at this point. But I don't know. What do you think on that?
So I'm with you. For me, let's make Sam Witwer Darth Maul.
Yeah.
He'll look close enough when you get the paint and everything on him.
Right.
He'll look close enough. The big thing would be the movement, right? His movement, and let's be honest. For most characters, they have a stunt guy that does that stuff, right? And so that can be the case here.
Right.
They can find a martial arts guy to come in and do that stuff. And I think in the end, this could actually benefit the character of Darth Maul. And the reason being is because we were kind of in a difficult situation here where anytime when you use Darth Maul, you have to have Ray Park and then you have to have the voice of Sam Witwer. And it was going to make any live action encounter with Darth Maul, it was going to limit it. They're not going to be able to do as much because it's always going to be harder to make that work. Well,
and another thing that you got to think of, and that actually might make this work, is because immediately my thoughts were like, but the body doesn't make sense. Forget the movement, the body. Because if you watch the end of Solo, when Maul comes up, the dude's beefy. I mean, Ray Park has beefed up since Phantom Menace, and the dude, I mean, Maul was pretty menacing. I mean, now, do I like the idea of Maul actually looking like that? Yes. But in all actuality, if all the majority of things that we've seen of Maul thus far in Clone Wars and Rebels, Maul actually wasn't that big. Right. Maul was pretty thin.
It's pretty thin.
So it makes sense that someone smaller like Witwer would come in and do the body too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and let's be honest, the character of Darth Maul is the Clone Wars Darth Maul.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the Darth Maul we get in the Phantom Menace was a shell of a character.
Well, he wasn't even really supposed to be anything.
He was just,
you know what I'm saying?
There was no life to that character, right? I mean, he was just a bad guy to fight, and they didn't really get into anything about him.
It was just the
later.
Replacement to Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Or the prequel, should I say, replacement.
And so then we get this fleshed out character, and that's all been Witwer.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think he knows Darth Maul. Mm-hmm. And I think that this could actually work really well. We'd have to get over the fact that he's going to look different, right? I mean, he's going to look a little different. But, I mean, that's not going to bother me that much.
Now, I mean,
I will say... sorry. No,
go ahead.
I will say, one last thing I will say is, I can't speak to if the Ray Park allegations, all that stuff is...
Yeah, and we're not going to touch on it.
And we're not really going to touch on it other than I know that the family has said that maybe some of it's not as true as it's people have said and stuff. And so let's give him the benefit of the doubt for a second. If it's all wrong and he's and all is good, then let's bring Ray Park and he is the face of Darth Maul, and I'd love to still have him be it. But if Disney doesn't do that, I think Sam Witwer is the answer.
I think is the best choice. So
I think that's a better choice than getting rid of Darth Maul. Let's
absolutely.
just not use Darth Maul.
Yeah.
I say let's use him and let's just use Sam Witwer.
But. Yeah, 110%. So, I mean, it's a difficult situation all around. But, we wanted to make everybody aware that this is still a rumor. We don't know what's going to happen, but those are just some of our thoughts on the situation at hand. So let's go ahead and move on to our next rumor for the week, and that is there's new details coming about the twins, and by that it is Luke and Leia. They're currently opened up casting, and casting is underway for the twins for the Kenobi series. So, Drew, I know you said that you had quite a bit of thoughts on this, and I haven't heard much in terms of who they're even looking at or anything. So what's your thoughts on this and, trying to get some young Luke and Leia on this Kenobi series?
So what we've gotten is a casting search for a girl that's 8 to 11 years old and a boy that's 8 to 11 years old for the Kenobi series. And so, I mean, it's obviously Luke and Leia, right?
Right, yeah.
And I think what's interesting about this, Luke was expected. I expected that we would get Luke. But what interests me about this is that we're getting Leia as well.
Right.
And what does that mean for the story of Kenobi? because Leia, as we know, should probably be on Alderaan with Bell, and so it's interesting that does that mean like will Kenobi go there? Could it potentially even be Bell that has sent him on a mission? Something of that nature.
Well, and I think for this, just off the top of my head, when I heard this, you're right. Leia wasn't incredibly expected, but when I heard this, I'm thinking, okay, it makes more sense that if we're going to have Vader as well, it kind of makes sense to have Leia. Then we have all of them, and because if we talked about this, I think 2 episodes or last episode or the episode before, and we said basically what is going to have to happen in order for Obi-Wan to leave his duty, to leave his post, so to speak, at Tatooine. What is going to have to happen? And we said it's going to have to be something to do with Vader. But you even said it's going to have to be maybe even something more than just Vader. Yeah. And it could be something to do with Leia. Leia's in trouble.
Could be Leia.
So it makes sense.
I think that does absolutely make sense, because what if his duty is to protect this boy, to keep this boy safe, what would be the only thing that could maybe get him to leave would be to protect the sister.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that could very well have something to do with where we're headed with the story.
Right. Now, we know it can't get too in-depth with her just because we know that Vader never knew that Leia existed at this point.
Right, yeah. So it would have to... Yeah.
It's not like, Vader found out about Leia, so he's going to go get her. It's not like that.
It can't be like that, yeah. And the chances are, we won't see Luke and Leia at the same time. And we probably won't even see Vader and Luke or Vader and Leia at the same time.
Yeah,
right. All these characters are probably going to be separated.
Well, because Luke and Leia were brother and sister making out. We know that they didn't know about each other.
Exactly.
So. And then Vader's line, "Oh, sister, you have a twin sister." So yeah.
I don't know exactly what it means for the story just yet, but I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And again, it could very well be something as simple as whatever he's going to do, he goes and sees Bell, because Bell, was a close friend to the Jedi.
Yeah.
As well as just Obi-Wan Kenobi in general. And so maybe there's some connection there. He has to go see him, talk to him, and maybe Leia's just there. Well, and maybe it's something as small as that.
And it could be like you just said, Bail is like at this point one of the only people that he can trust. And in fact, maybe the only person he can trust, because we have Yoda, but he's on Dagobah.
And we know he's already probably kind of stirring the pot as far as like trying to create a rebellion and such. So.
Yeah. And then like I said, and it could very well be possible that when we see Leia, it's literally like her coming up, "Hi, Dad," blah, 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 runs off. And that's it.
Right.
And that's literally it.
Yeah.
And that could be like almost like the season finale, like, "Oh, hey, look, oh my gosh," kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's interesting that they're starting casting and so anyway.
Hard to know for sure, but
for sure.
Still interesting.
All right, so go ahead and take us off here on our 4th.
Yeah, rumor. So this is something that I had gotten earlier in the week. There has been talks about Marvel Comics canceling Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
And they were basically saying, from what I understand, that because of kind of everything that's been going on with world events and such, and so they had already had to postpone it and different things, they kind of just dropped it and decided that it was just they were not going to do it. But however, we've gotten a new report. You want to go ahead and read that off to us? Yeah,
so the report just essentially is that Will Sliney, I believe that's how you say his name, but he has kind of insinuated...
And he is the artist for the comic.
Right, yeah. Will kind of insinuated that this is not over, that this is not canceled, and he goes debunking that rumor. So so there's a tweet by some random person that said, "What about the Rise of Skywalker comic release date? Any update on that?" And so Will Sliney replies back to that, or retweets it, and says, "No update yet, but I can't wait to share what Jody Hauser has come up with and what I've drawn." So, I mean, in my opinion, that just kind of proves that, hey, this isn't over. It's not canceled. There's going to be delays, clearly. But with that being said, Jody's still working on stuff. I'm still working on stuff, and we're excited, meaning it's going to happen. We're going to show you what we've been working on and what we've been drawing. So someone like Will Sliney saying something like this is pretty apparent to me. I'm sure it is to you too, but it's pretty apparent that this isn't canceled yet. Now, it's still just a rumor because it's not an official confirmation, but I would say it's pretty easy to say that this is not canceled.
Yeah, I agree. They've released a comic version of all of the movies, and so I think there's no way they're not going to do the same for this one. I just don't think that makes any sense. They're going to want to complete that, and there are going to be a lot of people that want it completed, and so I don't think it just doesn't make any sense that it would be canceled.
Well, and what could be is that perhaps that they're canceling the physical release of these, and that they're actually just doing the digital release.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. But again, I think that would upset a lot of people.
No, I think it would, but I'm just saying that might be, if there is a cancellation, that could be about the only thing I can imagine it being.
And there's also, if things continue the way they are and it's just a struggle, they may eventually just release it in a whole book form as far as like all issues come together, and after a certain amount of issues is done, they release that like little book version of it, and then maybe they just end up doing that instead of releasing it issue by issue. But I'm going to go ahead and assume nothing has changed other than maybe it's getting pushed back again. Maybe it's just going to be a while before we see it.
Yeah, that's very possible.
But I do not think it's canceled, no.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So anyway, that's pretty cool stuff there. So I'll lead you in with second to last rumor, and that is there's been rumors going around that there is a possibility that Disney Star Wars will start creating some R-rated Star Wars movies and content. So this is something that we actually, I believe, talked about, and I think it was a question that was asked, like basically, hey, what was your thoughts on R-rated Star Wars movies? This was asked, like, I think, like episode 2 or 3. So yeah, it's been a long time. So now that these rumors have been kind of recirculating again, I thought, might as well go ahead and talk about it. And I in my opinion, is still the same as it was then. And I'm all for R-rated Star Wars movies. Now, I don't necessarily think that it should use main characters heavily. I think they should use themes of those characters, but yet the R-rated one, and this is something I thought for a long time, it would be very cool to see the after effects or the side effects of these huge characters like Luke and Obi-Wan and Darth Vader and whoever else, right? It's kind of like a superhero movie, right? There is these superheroes clashing with the villains, and they ultimately triumph, but yet the city is destroyed.
Right,
I would love to see a movie where
talking about kind of like Batman versus Superman, where it shows it from the other perspective of
which we get.
I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah, we've gotten that a couple like sparse different times, but it'd be cool in a Star Wars context, which we've gotten that a little bit in Rogue One. But it would be pretty cool to see like the underbelly of Coruscant. It would be very cool. I think we said this. I think I said it at this time. I don't remember exactly, but I would love to see like a horror movie based off of Darth Vader. Yeah. Where you're like a Rebel Alliance soldiers and you get caught in a building with Vader, and kind of somewhat similar to Vader Immortal to some degree. But you see what I'm saying? I think it'd be really cool.
Right.
And I think Vader would maybe be like one of the only main characters that you could use in an R-rated. And I wouldn't even say it's in a major way. It would have to be like glimpses and just the thought of Vader. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, long run around just to say I would be okay with an R-rated Star Wars movie as long as it was done correctly. Yeah. So what are your thoughts?
I'm still not convinced. I'm not convinced it's necessary. I mean, maybe if they found a story where I go with it, maybe in a horror type element, maybe with the ancient Sith Lord, and it's so dark and creepy that it has to get an R rating, something like that. I guess I could maybe see, but I just don't think the R rating is necessary for Star Wars. And as far as like, I'm just not convinced that it needs to happen. Yeah. Again, if you can give me a story that it truly needs that, then okay.
Well,
and then I'll be like, all right. But I I don't know.
So let me back. So 2 points. The first point, I'm going to kind of reinforce what I said, and the second point, I'm going to backpedal a little bit. So hey, hypocrisy is fun. Anyway, no. So you're right, and this is what I was trying to say is I think it's completely conditional on the story itself. So for instance, like Darth Nihilus, we all know the legend of Darth Nihilus. That would absolutely need an R rating. You know, basically eating the stinking souls out of people, and he's never hungry enough, or he's never satisfied, and blah, 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 right? That could absolutely be an R-rated film. Now, I think actually I even said this on my original point as well, but it would have to be done right, and it would have to be done like once in 100 movies, right? It couldn't be done all the time. Because one thing is that George Lucas did want this to be family-friendly. It had positive, hope-filled elements to it, and R-rated movies are not going to have that, clearly. You know, go find me an R-rated movie that makes you feel like hopeful at the end of it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I think one time it could work, and it would have to just be due to the sheer nature of the story itself, rather than like, oh, there's just tons of cussing, or oh, there's tons of explicit scenes, or whatever it may be, right? It'd have to be just either sheer like, oh, this is a dark story, therefore it needs R-rated. But overall, I do think that it's incredibly dependent upon what is being told. So,
yeah, and I think there some ways. For me, if we're gonna get something like that, I think it should be a series, probably a Disney Plus series. Which again, even with Disney Plus, they don't, as of right now, they don't have R-rated content.
True.
On Disney Plus. So, I mean, you have to think about it that way too. If they release something that's considered R-rated, it's not going to be on Disney Plus.
Right.
And so, I mean, that could always change, but right now, basically Disney's adult content goes to Hulu, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I don't know. It would take some pretty hard convincing for me to think that it's really necessary.
Right.
But I'm all for getting some more adult focused stories in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think that it could benefit from that. I just don't know that it needs to go that like
far into
that
it.
extreme.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and I don't think it's happening anytime soon though, because if we just look at the bigger picture here with Disney, we know that Disney has been having a very long and as far as I know, undecided decision on what to do with another Deadpool, because they have this franchise now that with Deadpool that's very popular, did well with Fox. Now it's in Disney's hands, and they don't know what to do with it because
it kind of tarnishes their image. To some degree,
The content there is not Disney, but it has a huge following and can make big money, and so they're in this like, what do we do with Deadpool, right? Do we do a Deadpool 3? Do we make it R-rated and
go back on our morality? Oh my god!
So they can't even make up their minds with that. And when we're talking Star Wars, I think we're still quite a bit of ways from an R-rated movie happening, because you also have to think a lot of these big, expensive R-rated movies, such as Terminator, Blade Runner, whatever, 2049 or whatever it's called. Those two very big, expensive movies didn't make near as much money as they had hoped, most likely because of the R rating attached to them.
Sure.
Where if it had been PG-13, they probably would have had some bigger audiences. Right. Because, the R rating does make some people sit out, right?
Well, I mean, just initially, no matter what it is, if it's rated R, parents are like, I don't know if I take my kid to that.
Right.
It could be just as bad with a PG-13 rating, and like, oh, okay, it's just PG-13.
Right. So something like Deadpool excels with R, but then there's other franchises such as Star Wars that I just don't know that it'll work.
Well, and mainly because with Deadpool, the very nature of that whatever like medium is supposed to be that.
Right.
Like the whole attractant to Deadpool is the fact that it's rated R, the fact that it's really obscene and crazy and just outlandish stuff. Star Wars is not that. So I absolutely.
So let's move on to our final rumor.
Oh, boy, this is a good one.
I want everybody to close their eyes.
Oh,
okay. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to picture we're moving past the rise of Skywalker. You've got Rey. Okay, you see Rey standing in a dark cave. Okay. Why aren't your eyes closed?
Oh,
Close
you're
your
talking
eyes.
to me. I thought you were talking to the audience.
Well, I am. I'm talking to you and the audience.
Okay.
So you're standing in a dark cave. Rey comes out. She's got her fancy new lightsaber, and she's heard rumors of a very powerful new enemy that is that is on this planet. All of a sudden, you hear that. All of a sudden, right? Next thing you know, there's a little black robed Yoda with a red lightsaber shooting Force lightning. Yes, folks, that's right. You heard it here first. Lucasfilm has plans to bring Yoda back via cloning, and he's going to be the enemy.
In a Rey movie.
In a Rey movie. A movie focused on Rey. Evil Yoda is going to be the enemy.
Like, who came up with this, dude? That's what I want. Who came up with this?
Listen, if this happens,
I literally, I would be so shocked if this was even a realm of possibility. Like, if this actually happened, I think I'd probably have a heart attack on the spot and die. Like, just fall over. Like, it's so outlandish. I can't even, like, explain why it's crazy.
Okay, so let me just read this for you guys.
I want to hear this.
According to our intel, this is WeGotThisCovered.com.
Naturally.
Yeah, naturally. No offense to the
they have some of the best stuff.
Yeah, they do. According to our intel, which comes from the same sources that told us Ahsoka Tano would be appearing in the second season of The Mandalorian, and that spoilers would be revealed as a traitor in The Rise of Skywalker, in a future Star Wars movie, an as-yet unnamed villain will attempt and ultimately succeed in cloning Yoda in an effort to turn the benevolent Jedi Master into a puppet they can use for their own nefarious means. While it can't be confirmed exactly which movie this is said to be happening in, we've heard that it would most likely be the proposed solo outing for Daisy Ridley's Rey, rather than the 3 recently delayed films that were pushed back to 2023, 2025, and 2027. And the idea of another perennial favorite returning to Star Wars yet again certainly fits with Lucasfilm's approach to the franchise.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Listen, well, as soon as I read this, I just sat there for a little bit and just thought about it because, like, it's just so out there.
Oh, my heart.
No,
gosh.
No. This can't happen.
No,
this can't happen.
No, I mean, I think it's so obvious that it's not real. I think we just wanted to bring it up because it was funny, but
yeah. Well, I'm not going to completely discredit this because when Lucasfilm has their meetings and talks through things, I'm sure they throw out a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of crazy ideas. It might have been randomly
mentioned. Sure.
It could have been one of the things that they have talked about, one of the just random ideas they've talked about. Because I'm sure, they just brainstorm stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe this got out somehow or one way or another. But Lucasfilm, you cannot.
No,
you cannot do this.
No,
this is too far.
No. I would be very angry. As I said last episode, I'll be writing some very strongly worded letters to somebody.
Yeah, but man, just picturing Rey having to fight
evil Yoda,
this evil Yoda clone was just too good not to talk about.
That's rough, dude. That's rough. Well, we better move on, though.
Yeah. So
we're getting low on time.
So let's go ahead to our releases. A couple things that I want to mention here before we talk about this upcoming week's releases. This last week, we did get a new book from George Mann, who did the Myths and Fables of Star Wars. He has a new one that was called... Of course, I don't remember what it's called all of a sudden.
Oh, gosh. Come on. How unprofessional.
I know. I should have had it. Dark Legends. Star Wars Dark Legends. Supposed to be kind of like a horror spin on Star Wars, kind of talking about some different things. I like one of them's about like a werewolf even and stuff. Like I don't know how it all works yet. I haven't read it yet. I do have it though. And so the Myths and Fables book was great, so I'm sure this one will be great as well. I just wanted to mention that since we didn't talk about releases last week. And then the other thing I want to talk about real quick is Darth Vader issue 3 also came out on Wednesday, and boy, what an issue it is. I'm not going to go into spoilers just yet on this. This issue might be like once this arc is finished, we might go back and just talk through the whole arc
Yeah.
maybe as a main topic at some point, because there's a lot of stuff to go into here, a lot of stuff to talk about. But since it's brand new, I don't want to like go into any spoilers, but I highly recommend everyone go read this arc of Darth Vader. Again, this is just the 3rd issue, but it's getting really good. It's some interesting stuff, especially if you're prequel fans. If you are fans of the prequel, you will want to read this. If you're fans of the Padme novels, Queen's Shadow and Queen's Peril, you will want to read this. Again, there's some really interesting stuff there, some very interesting connections. And the way this last issue ends is very cool, very surprising, and I think it's going to be really cool to see what happens in the next issue. So everyone, be sure to pick that up. We're going to talk about that arc once it's finished for sure. And then, so for the releases this week, we have a couple things here. We have Star Wars issue 5 is finally coming on Wednesday. We are still kind of in that waiting to see who Luke is going to go meet. We know he's talking to some kind of mystical character who has his lightsaber. So some kind of past Jedi or something, right?
It's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, so some of those answers. That's in the future. I don't know that it'll be in this next issue, but that's been hinted at. We know some High Republic stuff has been hinted at.
Yep.
And so that's a really great line to be picking up right now. And so that one comes out on Wednesday, as well as Star Wars Adventures, The Clone Wars Battle Tales, issue number 3. I don't read that, so
I couldn't tell you about it.
But if that's for you, go get it. And then we also have Poe Dameron Freefall novel coming out on Tuesday. And this is that young adult novel. We actually were given a review copy of that and from Disney, and we will be discussing that and discussing our review of that on next Saturday. So be ready for that. And we'll have some thoughts about it. Neither of us are too huge of a fan of Poe Dameron, so
hopefully the book changes my mind. So
we'll see. Maybe it will, but I mean, we're just not super huge on any of the sequel characters, really. Yeah. So that not necessarily anything against them. They just don't excite us as much as some of the other characters.
Well, that's a whole conversation within itself.
Yeah. So, but anyways, that's coming out on Tuesday. So go and pick that up if you like the sequel trilogy or just want to learn more about Poe Dameron's background.
Yeah. So, without any further ado, we're going to move quickly into our Q&A. As you all know, we try to create a Q&A post on our social medias where we ask you all to ask us questions and topics and suggestions and all that good stuff. We always try to do 3 weeks, but this week we only have 2. So we have 2 from Kristen Perry and Noah Aguilar. So we thank you both for asking.
Yes, thank you. And I want to say we really appreciate all of you guys, how many questions you've asked in this past 25 episodes. You guys have asked so many questions.
Yes.
And we understand that for those of you who have been long listeners, you're running out of ideas.
Like, okay, we're trying to help you guys.
You're running out of questions to ask us. I completely understand that. I appreciate the fact that you guys have asked us so many up to this point.
Yeah.
And we can tell the well is running dry.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But what we ask of you guys is if you could please just share our questions post.
Yes.
Share it with your friends on Facebook. Just kind of spread that out. And we hope that maybe we'll get some new listeners and some new people that just have questions they want to ask and don't really know where to ask them.
Precisely.
And so if you guys can just direct your friends and family to our page, we would love that. So.
Yeah, that'd be very awesome. We appreciate that, guys, if you would do that for us, just because, to save you guys time to have this think a question every week, wearing you guys out. No, but again, we do appreciate that, and we would appreciate the help to continually expand our listening audience and get some new people in here who might have some questions of their own that we've already talked about, but hey, maybe they need to hear it for the first time.
Right.
So, sounds good to
absolutely.
me. Okay, so our first one this week comes from Kristen Perry, and she says, which Anakin Skywalker, basically what character model do you prefer? I know for me, the movie Anakin and the TV series Anakin appear to be different, and you are 100% correct on that. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we basically, and we're going to go long today because we're making up from last week, clearly. But because we only have 5 minutes until. Anyway, so I'm not going to go too terribly long, but I will just say this: George Lucas wrote in 3 movies an entire character, and while that is nominally like 6 hours long, well, let's just put it that way. Let's just say it. Basically, he tried to write an entire character's backstory in 6 hours to fill that in. So basically, he worked with what he had, and could he have done better? Who knows, right? I'm not going to say yes, no, maybe so. But I will say is that they had to show how did this good guy turn into a bad guy? How did he have this lust for power? How did he have this desire to turn into something so monstrous, monstrositous, that's not even a word, as Vader, right? And basically he had to show him as kind of unstable. And as we see in episodes 1, 2, and 3 of the OG saga, Anakin is a very whiny little baby. And, we see him grow up quite a bit in that. But the saddest part of all is that he's more of a whiny baby in episode 2 than he is in episode 1. And he's aged like 10 to 15 years or whatever it is. But my point is that they had to show that progression of him like feeling powerless, feeling like a little kind of whiny baby and rebelling and stuff, and to show him to grow into this person who needs to become Vader. So he did, George worked with what he had. Now, I will say I personally prefer the Clone Wars Anakin just because there's hundreds of episodes and they fully flesh out Anakin as a character. They show his ups, they shows his downs, he shows his heroic moments, he shows his weak moments, and and that's the difference between a TV show and a movie, right? Because you're going to be able to see a greater depth of character build in a show rather than a movie. So overall, I do think that it was much more pleasurable to watch the Clone Wars Anakin than it was the movie's Anakin. But I think they have their purposes.
Yeah, I think that was actually a really long answer.
I said I was going to go quick, but that was a very long answer. So yeah, I wasn't really sure how to say it as succinctly as I wanted to. So
yeah, I will actually give you a short answer. 30
minutes later.
I think about everyone likes the Clone Wars Anakin better, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate what Hayden Christensen pulled off, especially in episode 3. But I wish that all of that had already been there.
Right.
Because I think it could have really made his performance more impactful and better in Revenge of the Sith had we already had all of that story and known those things.
Right.
Of course, that's not the case, though. And
Hayden did exactly what he was told.
Yeah.
So I'll just say that.
And the thing is they took Hayden Christensen, they took that character and reworked it for Clone Wars into what they think would be better and less annoying. That's what they basically did.
Yeah.
And so that's why when you see the animated version and the live action version, they really don't fit together because they really just basically kind of made him different.
Yeah, basically, what did Anakin? What she should have been?
Right.
That's what they're trying to.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So, if he was the main hero, what would he have been like?
Yeah. So Clone Wars all the way.
Sure. All right, and our second and last question is from Noah Aguilar, and he says, "What would you like Taika Waititi to explore in his new movies?" So, Noah, that's a great question, and it's one that I don't have an exact answer to because it's so broad, right? It's so there's so many avenues they can go. Now, if we knew what direction they was wanting to go in these new movies, so whether that be post or pre OG saga, what I'm saying, then I could give you a better answer. I will just say I would like to dive into some either new stuff or deep dive into things that we already know and just in ways that we haven't seen yet. And I that's a very, very generic answer, but I don't really know as of yet how to specify that anymore. I wouldn't mind seeing some new stuff, but basically, but it be grounded in things we already know, things we're already familiar with and stuff. But I also wouldn't mind him deep diving into, original stories just in different ways than we've seen. At the end of the day, I do think with Taika, He is a comedian at heart. He is a funny guy, and just like with Thor Ragnarok, it wasn't a horribly serious movie. And I'd imagine many of the stuff that he's probably going to do with Star Wars is going to be like that as well. So I would imagine, and this is just me, but I would imagine that what he's going to end up doing is probably not groundbreaking, right? He's probably not going to launch Star Wars into the new era of what they're wanting to do. I doubt that they're going to take that direction with Taika. It could be, but I doubt it. So, Andrew, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think for me, with Taika, I expect something wacky.
Exactly.
I expect something pretty out there, something funny. That's just what we've gotten with him and Thor Ragnarok and different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even his episode of The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah,
had some. It has his touch of humor in it, and so. I expect to see that in whatever he does, and want that, honestly, when it comes to, if he's going to direct a movie, I want it to be a crazy adventure that has a lot of good laughs in it. And so where he goes with that, I don't know.
Yeah, for instance, like Jar Jar and the Great Gungan Adventure. Is that something you're wanting, or?
Yeah, no.
You say you want something wacky. No.
No, that's too far.
Too far. Okay, we're shutting the episode off. So.
Okay, well, folks. Well, we're glad you came today, but we're gonna cut this. Actually, we're not cutting this short. We're gonna cut this right on time.
30 seconds over. So let's just basically say we really don't know. If we had a better understanding of where they're going to take it in terms of before or after the saga, we'd be able to give a better answer. But we want at least, wherever they do, to have Taika's funny, wacky touch. I think that's kind of like the answer we both kind of have.
I want it to be easily identifiable as a Taika Waititi film.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and end our Q&A for this week. So like we said earlier, if you can, please make sure to, when we do post Q&A forum posts, please make sure to, if you have a question, obviously ask. I know you guys, like I said, you may be running a little bit dry, but if you see something you'd like us to talk about, it doesn't even have to necessarily be a question. If you have just a topic you'd like us to mention, we will absolutely do that. And please share our Q&A post if you can, and maybe get some of your friends or family or loved ones to maybe ask their own questions. So that'd be awesome. So without any further ado, we're going to move into our final thing for this episode, and that is our main topic. And this week, ironically enough, we thought we was going to probably be talking on this a little bit more, but no, we had a lot more to say on everything else, apparently. Basically, there were so many things coming about in the news and the rumors of The Mandalorian that we wanted to just this week talk talk quickly about the state of The Mandalorian and where we're at with the updates. Because as of what we have now, we have 2 news stories and 1 rumor. And I'm sure we could probably have dug out more rumors and stuff if we wanted to. But, like I said, there's a lot going on with Mandalorian. Mandalorian has been kind of the golden child of Disney and Star Wars post Rise of Skywalker, and they needed to win, and they got to win with Mandalorian. So, long story short, they're going to try to expand this however they can. They've talked about, they already know there's going to be season 2. We already know there's a season 3, and then they're trying to press for a season 4. And then they also released a publishing project with books and kids novels and child stories and coloring books and all this stuff, right? So that leads us now to our first news story, and that is Mandalorian original novel was written. That's going to be written by Adam Christopher. Has actually been pushed back to the fall of 2021. So basically, a few more months next year is when we're gonna get to it. We actually, if I'm not mistaken, we anticipated to get this year, didn't we? I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it was gonna be December.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like it's supposed to be probably after the season is finished.
Well, yeah, you're right.
We kind of assumed.
That's what we assumed, because then we was gonna say they could probably tie in both season 1 and 2 if they needed to. So yeah, it is interesting. Obviously,
it's very interesting because it's been pushed back basically an entire year.
Oh yeah, it's a long time. Like for instance, we see the High Republic, which is way bigger of a publishing effort. That actually might answer the question within itself. First of all, I was gonna say High Republic, way bigger publishing effort, and it got pushed back from August to January, not even a whole year. But if if the Mandalorian original novel was going to be in December, if they pushed it back anything, it would cross over with High Republic, and they're not going to do that. So that makes kind of sense why they're doing that. They're going to give some space so that they have each book their own distinct, platform.
I mean, I think that makes sense, but it's kind of crazy to me that it's going a whole year.
Yeah, and a whole year is kind of much. Yeah.
I'm really curious why that is. I mean, I think the immediate thought is just probably due to the pandemic, but at the same time, I wonder if there's actually more to it. Like maybe they either decided to just ditch the story because it's a whole year. I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah, big time.
It makes me wonder if they're restarting with the novel. Maybe something.
They had some questions about what Adam was doing, or maybe Adam's dropping out and someone else got in. Who knows?
Yeah, it just seems really, and especially since if everything else is still coming out when it's supposedly going to with this publishing program, their main adult novel is now just not going to be there. And so
it's going to be very bizarre.
It's going to be very odd. Yeah.
So there's probably something more going on there, but we don't want to rumor because this is news, right? We're just saying the news right now. And that is that it's been pushed back to fall of 2021. So we're not going to rumor on that. We can later on if you all would like to know more about that. So our second news story is that actually Mandalorian Season 1, again, the golden child of Disney, is that it is being nominated for 15 Emmys. 15. I don't have the list of all the Emmys they're being nominated for, but man, 15 of them for a TV show essentially. That's pretty good. And truly, I do think that Mandalorian Season 1 is absolutely worthy of all of them. I don't even know what they are, but I'm sure that they're worthy of it. Great storytelling, amazing visuals, great soundtrack. You can't beat it. So, Drew, what's your thought on that? I mean, it's pretty.
I think it's well deserved.
Right.
I think it's great that they got that many. It's a great show.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's being recognized. I mean, sometimes in these award shows, they kind of give the cold shoulder to things like Star Wars. And, and superhero movies. These different things, they give a cold shoulder sometimes to them, and sometimes prefer to give them to the more less popular like indie movies,
Right.
Sometimes that's how award shows like to be.
Right.
And so I'm really glad to see that Star Wars is getting the recognition it deserves because they did something really special with The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So.
Well, nerds, rise up. Attack of the Nerds. Here we are. We're rising. We're getting 15 Emmy nominations. So
nominations.
They haven't won it yet.
Exactly.
But anyway. So anyway, very cool stuff. And then
I'm sure they'll win some of them.
Oh, I guarantee it. If not, a lot of them. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good. This is sidetracking, but hey, we're already 6 minutes over, so why not, right? But after we're watching the making of basically docuseries, they have pioneered in some of the VFX stuff.
Oh yeah,
with
absolutely.
that screen filming thing that they did.
Oh yeah,
like they're the first people to do that.
Yeah, and that's big. I mean,
guaranteed
that's big stuff there.
They're going to be winning something for that, guaranteed. So,
they should, yeah.
Yeah, if they don't, they should, yeah. Because that's got honest goodness. That I think they kind of underplayed it a little bit, but I seriously think that that's an insane innovation because basically it replaces green screen,
right? Yeah.
And it's way more realistic. It helps the actors get in the mindset.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there's all kinds of different reasons.
Yeah, I'm not going to deep dive into that, but yeah, it's a huge thing. So. Really cool. 15 Emmy nominations. That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
But last but not least, we're going to talk about very quickly. We're going to discuss more about maybe Mandalorian Season 2 and what that could be and yada yada. But we're going to talk about this last final rumor because we're already 7 minutes over, going on 8 minutes. So we will spare you the drabble here. But but the last and final rumor for Mandalorian Season 2 and maybe even Season 3 is that Giancarlo Esposito, which is Moff Gideon in Season 1, was in another what's the word I'm looking for? Interview. My mind just blanked. Anyway, he was in another interview. He's a lot of interviews and he's saying a lot of things recently. But he said he's been in another interview and he's revealing some more things about his character and the Darksaber as well. And people are asking about the Emmy nominations actually for Mandalorian Season 1, and this is his quote. This is they were talking about his TIE fighter scene when he's cutting the hole through the Darksaber, and this is his quote here from this interview. He says, "You'll see more of the Darksaber. you'll get the explanation of this ancient weapon to the modern world, a collapsed world. Where did the saber come from, and how was it revived? It is a key in our second season, which will be back sooner than later. And the article says, another reassurance that the season is on track to make its release date after this year amid a time of delays in film and television productions. So he comes back and says the saber is a key to Moff Gideon's past, which possibly has a lot to do with where he comes from and his desire to build a planet and bring it back together. So, I mean, it's nothing like huge drop. It's not anything crazy, but basically he's insinuating, whether he's true or not, because this is a rumor, but he's insinuating that Moff Gideon and the Darksaber are inexplicably tied together. Like the reason Moff Gideon is where he's at is because, to some degree, the Darksaber.
Which would then make you think that he was involved in Mandalore as some, like,
right.
He lived on Mandalore, he was a man, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel like that kind of would, either that or he was part of destroying the people that were on Mandalore, which then,
right.
Something like that, right?
So I'm trying to think, like, so at this point, with I'm trying to think when he would get it, because I'm not,
so it'd have to be
from Sabine, or was it from
Maul? Sabine gave the Darksaber to what's her face to lead Mandalore.
Yeah.
In Rebels.
Yeah.
I cannot remember her name.
I know who you're talking about, though. Yeah, I can't even do it off the top of my head. But
is it Bo-Katan?
Yes.
Bo-Katan, right?
Yes.
Give to Bo-Katan. And so Bo-Katan had it last.
Well, it says right here, the saber is a key to Moff Gideon's past, which possibly has a lot to do with where he comes from and his desire to build a planet and bring it back together.
Which we then know that Mandalore is, they call it the Great, what do they call it in Mandalorian? In the first season, they call it the Great.
I don't remember.
Is it the Great something? Basically, they hint at the destruction of Mandalore, like probably the Imperials eventually came there and wiped them out.
The Great Purge.
The Great Purge, yeah. And so I know I've heard a lot of people think that they took a lot of the Beskar and melted it down, and that's why it's used as currency, because they basically wiped out the Mandalorians that were there on Mandalore and took all the Beskar. Yeah. So I think that, so either kind of my head's going is maybe he's the one that took out Bo-Katan, so then he took the Darksaber. Yeah. And that's why he has it, because he was the one who kind of led the purge on Mandalore. Well, it makes sense. I mean, because I just hit the mic here, but it does make sense, I guess, to some degree, right? Because, like, the whole part of why the Mandalorians are in hiding and all this stuff is because the Empire took them down and did the Great Purge, and that's why Beskar is such a big tradable thing. So it makes sense that he would have this key to the Mandalorian power and key to the Mandalorian leadership, so to speak. And we kind of know the history of the Darksaber, right? I mean, a lot of the history of the Darksaber. We know where its origins, and we know a lot of different people it follows. Sure. But you have to remember that the actor here who is talking about this probably doesn't know all of that. Right. Doesn't realize how much of that information's out there. And we talked about this last time. And so again, when he's talking about, like, you're gonna find out all these, it could be things that maybe some of it we already know. Sure. Yeah. And so, because I'm sure at some point they'll talk about where the Darksaber came from. Because a lot of people that watch The Mandalorian have probably never watched Rebels or Clone Wars, right? Right, exactly. And so they don't have that explanation yet. Right. And because they wouldn't deep dive into figuring out, like, who Tar Vizsla is and being the first, Mandalorian Jedi and blah blah blah, right? Yeah. So I think that's probably kind of where they're headed with it. I would assume that he was probably part of the destroying them there, probably part of the purge, would be my guess. Sure. Yeah, I'd say so too. So a lot. Do you have anything else you want to say about it? No, I was just going to say there's a lot of really cool things going on with the Mandalorian. That's why we wanted to just make this our main topic, just because there's so many things to talk about. We would have talked about it a little bit longer probably, but due to
time, and then almost 14 minutes over. We just want to spare you guys. So
so there's one more little thing that we want to do before we close out, and that is we want to on Facebook they have top fans, and we just want to mention our top fans. And this is something we want to start doing at the beginning of every month. So we're going into August. It'll be August 1st when this episode releases. And so I think it's going to be August 1st.
I think so. Yeah.
And so we just want to bring to attention our top fans, because it means a lot to us that and the top fans are the people that have responded the most, who have shared our stuff.
Let's just preface this: we're not picking the top fans.
Yeah, exactly.
This is something that like Facebook populates automatically.
Right. They generate it for us. They generate it for us, and then show us. And so we encourage you guys, if you want to be a top fan, go ahead and just start as soon as this episode posts. Start communicating with us, sharing our stuff, and you'll eventually probably end up on our top fans. And we're gonna be discussing maybe in the future starting to do some special prizes and stuff for our top fans, different things as time goes on. So, but today we just want to say a big thank you to our top fans. Our number one, or should we start at the bottom?
Should we start from the bottom
to the top?
Yeah.
We have 5 of our top fans here, and we just want to call them out. So our 5th is Alex Mason. He's a top fan for 2 months.
There you go.
And so Alex Mason came on to the party a little late, but man, has he been one of our biggest supporters since.
Yes, he has.
And we really appreciate that, Alex. We thank you so much for doing that.
Agreed.
Number 4 is Brandon Dukes, top fan for 2 months.
Yes, sir.
Again, Brandon is another faithful one. We actually talked about him just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
How much we appreciate you, Brandon. Keep it up. We thank you very much. And then number 3 is Stuart Martin, top fan for 3 months.
Yes.
And so again, Stuart Martin, another great one. And what I love about this is it's all people we know, like the top fans here.
Yeah.
People that we've been talking to.
So we may not know you personally, but we've interacted with you enough to recognize your name.
Exactly. Cool. And so I think it's cool because it goes to show that they really truly are our top fans. Because
that's awesome.
So thank you, Stuart. We really appreciate it. And number 2 is, no surprise, Joshin Birkinshaw, our main man.
Yes.
Top fan for 4 months. So, so that's awesome.
was one of the first ones,
Joshin was one of the first, yeah. So we thank you, Joshin. You've been such a huge support to us. You're one of the reasons that this has kept us going. Just knowing that you always listen and that you enjoy it has been one of the reasons that we're like, you know what, we're doing this, we're sticking with it.
Yeah.
And here we are at, 25 episodes. So thank you, Joshin.
For sure.
And then our number one top fan, Kristen Perry. Top fan for 5 months from the get-go. From the first episode, Kristen Perry has been right there for us, supporting us, asking a question every single week. I don't know that she's ever missed a week.
I don't think so.
She always asks us a question, and we thank you so much, Kristen.
Yes, absolutely.
You have been such a huge help in making this podcast what it is. We really, really appreciate it. And we love all of you guys. We're so thankful to have you guys be a part of it, to listen to us. It means so much.
And even those of you who may listen even consistently but may not interact as much and I'm not a top fan, but if you listen consistently and you're hearing this and we may not even know your name, we appreciate you. Anybody that listens too. And it means a lot to us. It really does. So.
Well, and we know there's people out there that are listening to us that haven't communicated with us because our listening, our download numbers are higher than what the people that respond to us are, right? And so we know there are people out there who probably haven't even told us or talked to us yet that we don't even know but that you listen to us weekly, and that means the world to us.
Absolutely.
But we do want to get to know you, so please ask a question, message us,
just say hi.
Just say hi. We would love to get to know you, love to know what you think about it, love to hear your guys' ideas. We just thank you guys so much. But
absolutely.
Until next time, I want to thank everyone so much for the continued support. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and our brand new Instagram page.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do with that yet. I think we're gonna be sharing some memes and stuff on there.
We want to share some memes and different things on there. Maybe even a couple pictures every once in a while of Braxton's handsome face. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know about that.
But if you haven't yet, go like us there on Instagram, follow us, and share it with your friends. We're going to be doing some cool stuff on there. But anyways, you can follow us on all those places for weekly news, polls, discussions, and more. But also follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a review. We thank you so much for listening. And please join us next week for episode 26. But until next time, may the Force be with you. And we thank you for joining the Jedi Eternal.